Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today I want to continue the journal, the diary, the hardcore necromancer run. I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos. There's a lot of tidbits of information of things that I've learned through the game throughout these, and I hope overall it's an experience that you guys get a good bit of value from. Now, moving on to the actual gameplay. In this play session, I was still quite aggressively trying to complete the first 3 stages of Renown just to unlock all the actual skill points. It doesn't take that much time, but it is also a goal that I had to get all the Lilith Shrines on my first playthrough on World Tier 1. Just so I could kind of run through them pretty aggressively. So here I was looking at my build real quick. I'm like, yeah, I don't really like Ossified Essence. It's kind of weak. It is actually kind of weak. I don't believe I ended up changing too many of my skills, but I started looking at Bone Golem a little bit more. I believe in between the previous play session and this play session, I did a little bit of research on golems, and there are some things to learn here. So Bone Golem, as I learned, is incredibly powerful. The taunt effect hits the entire screen, and the auto attack of the Bone Golem, even though it's a little bit slower than the Blood Golem, but it actually does about the same damage, but it's actually a wide cleave. It is an AoE auto attack, and that is pretty spicy, I would say. Still a lot of map completion to go. We're running around. This was actually like a 5-hour playthrough, and I believe at the end is where we finally got to World Tier 3. So it was a little bit of a challenge. Because there was just so many things to do. Yeah, I believe I am using the Bone Golem here. So yeah, the Bone Golem ended up really converting me. If I had done another playthrough again, I believe I would have used the Bone Golem with the Thorns aspect, I just think upgrade 2, the entire time. The Bone Golem is so good for clear, and it is so because it is contrasting from your other minions. So if you're investing in your minions, the Bone Golem does tremendous AoE damage, and your mages, literally any mages you want, all the mages do really good single target, so it really complements them very well. You have the tanky, thick boy up there kind of blocking the mobs away from you and the mages, doing AoE cleaves, while the mages clean up the single target with single target, and also phrases and chills and all that. So Bone Golem, big difference. But again, it's hardcore, so it was a little bit of a tougher decision than normal because the Decrepify curse, what I replaced with the Golem, I don't have any DR anymore. I went from Decrepify, which I was trying not to use because it cost essence. There's 20 DR. Then to the Blood Golem. Okay, 15 DR, not bad. It's pretty close. We got the Golem to tank some hits too. Okay. But then to the Bone Golem. And the Bone Golem has the AoE taunt, which can be a lot better, but it isn't DR, you know? It's not DR. It's not quite the same. So here I kind of start to enter like almost like a little bit of a panic. It's like, yeah, man, I got so much stuff to cover, so many areas to reveal, so many altars left to go. Barely over 5 levels until 50. So we did a lot of running around. Build-wise, I started kind of contemplating where I'm at. I started trying small changes in like the passive tree. Nothing too big. One thing that actually I learned is quite powerful for most builds. There is an attack speed node. It's like 4% per point. It's a passive, so 3 points. And it's a 4% attack speed if you've been healthy for the last 2 or 3 seconds or something like that. But it's not just your minions that get it. It's you and your minions. And even though some people have calculated that your attack speed barely gets converted at all to your minions, it's still like attack speed for minions is so powerful, right? So, you know, your minion's getting 12 and then possibly as much as 30% of the 12 that you get, well, that's a lot, okay? That's a lot more essence for your mages, it's a lot more corpses for the reapers, a lot more cleaves for your Bone Golem or whatever you're using if you're not using one. And you yourself are getting 12 attack speed. And even though you might be playing a resource-limiting build, which I was with Bone Spear, it still gives you a lot of speed. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It gives you a lot less time that you have to stand still to cast any individual ability. So I'm starting to get quite legendaried out. If I had to do a playthrough again, I would perhaps lean into even more Tree of Whispers related quests in the last like 5 levels before moving to the next difficulty, like 45 to 50, because at this point the Tree of Whispers is almost always rewarding me with legendary items, and it's giving me a lot of power. Cleaning up some of the last few strongholds with ease. Overall, the character is feeling pretty strong. Bone Spear, as you might imagine, is a pretty strong ability, and we're just kind of blazing through the game at this point. I believe I put Decrepify back on the bar. Yes. So I wasn't using corpse tendrils that much, but honestly, in the last patch, which I think happened like the very next morning from this, Corpse Tendrils actually has a larger AoE and starts to pull in some mobs that are already crowd controlled. Now, it didn't do that before. If you had something that was like stunned or frozen, it wouldn't pull it at all. So now it still doesn't really pull it, but sometimes it does. So Corpse Tendrils a little bit better. I think in hindsight, maybe it was a mistake to drop Corpse Tendrils. So yeah, Corpse Tendrils really, really powerful. Moving in. We're starting to do some of the last few strongholds. There is a strategy where when you go to a higher difficulty, if you're like way under leveled, you can start doing some of the strongholds. And this is something that a number of streamers, and I think I even mentioned once, and I think I even tried once, like when I went to World Difficulty 4, where the monsters are at least level 70, actually they're at least level 73, when you go at like level 60. Right? And then if you do a stronghold on difficulty 4, the monsters are always 2 levels higher than you. So instead of monsters being level 73, they're going to be level 62 if you're level 60, for example. Which sounds really good because you might get ancestral items at level 60 fighting level appropriate mobs, right? Wrong. Mobs actually have to be minimum level 73 to drop Ancestral, and, you know, whatever, something similar based on the difficulty for World Difficulty 3. So it actually doesn't offer too much stuff, I think, for hardcore, because strongholds are actually pretty rippy, because some of the bosses at the end actually have some pretty powerful mechanics. I would highly recommend that you do every single stronghold on World Difficulty 1 as you are first leveling, okay? Highly recommend that. And as you can see, the build is pretty good. Again, this is double speed just to kind of see a little bit more content throughout. So it is going by a little bit faster, but still, the DPS is pretty good. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the character. At this point, I haven't had too many close calls. I got 5 mages. I got 6 warriors. I have a blizzard aspect. I got the curse in case we fight some like strong monster. So I'm thinking like, why not? Why not, right? We're just finishing up the last few levels. I believe I went ahead and did the Lights Cathedral, Lights Chapel or whatever, right after I did all the strongholds, right after I got all 3 of each zone, and right after I did all the Lilith altars. It was quite a ride. Yeah, more strongholds. Oh man, there's so many of them. There's so many to do. And then finally, the attunement. Cathedral of Light, that's what it's called. So this zone we're doing on World Difficulty 2. World Difficulty 2 gives you 20% more experience from mob kills, but actually does not give you more experience from quests, from revealing areas, from Lilith shrines, any of that. So that's why I always recommend that you play on World Tier 1 until level 50. It's just better to clear stuff faster, and you're going to have to clear through so much content in order to tick off all the boxes for all the renown you're going to have to do. World Tier 2 is literally only for this dungeon. Okay, the Cathedral of Light, because you have to do it on World Tier 2 in order to unlock World Tier 3. Now, on World Tier 2, there's a few things that happen. So the monsters, I don't know what they have. They have a lot more life. It's certainly a lot more than 20%. I would estimate that the mobs have at least 50% more life, but they could have as much as double life. They hit a little bit harder, but at this point, if you have a pretty decent character, if you're following like a leveling guide, or better yet, if you're just playing the same build that I am playing, that's not really a problem. They still don't really hit that often, that hard. But we're also playing hardcore, so I like the idea of trying to keep my distance as well. But on World Tier 2 and later, the mobs actually get a little bit smarter. On World Tier 1, I think the mobs are noticeably dumb. Okay, sometimes they'll just stand there. Sometimes they'll just wiggle if they're like on the other side of a pillar or something like that. So, there's a few moments where it really does make it pretty easy. But again, World Tier 1, getting to level 50, doing the early renown grind, getting the Lilith altars, that is kind of the very long 10-hour tutorial of Diablo 4. And it kind of ends when you start doing the Cathedral of Light. Now, some of these rare monsters that you have to get the, I think, Animus from, they're actually kind of the benchmark. If you are not at all struggling with those, you're basically good. You guys probably already know this, but, it features kind of a boss fight, the Council, which is like 4 bosses at once. Super easy with minions. They don't necessarily aggro on minions, but the minions keep them busy. The bosses are spending time attacking minions, even though they're kind of trying to run to you. Well, if the minion's there, it's going to attack, and it's going to slow it down. And it's kind of a fight where if you don't want to get hit, well, you just really don't have to get hit at all. I think for this fight, I ended up not using a cheat death elixir. I ended up using just a regular armor elixir that was level appropriate. But you can see the curator was just an absolute joke. But of course, I wasn't taking any chances. This is the only scary part right here, because I know those bones explode. I just don't know the timing on them. They actually did quite a bit of damage, So you're going to want to try to get a few HP rolls, a little bit of armor, and yeah, try to blaze through. Actually, in this first part, resistances might actually be pretty decent, because there's no resistance penalty in World Difficulty 2. So that's pretty good. We got another Blizzard Amulet, which is huge. You want to get a few more of those rolls. And there is another aspect to the Blizzard skeleton build. One way is to put the extra mage on the amulet. The other way is to put the Blizzard aspect on the amulet. Just do 50% more Blizzard damage. So that's pretty good. Overall, I'm feeling great at this point. Level 50 character. Let's go. World Tier 3. Easy peasy. Only good things ahead. Am I right? Well, you'll have to watch.